Blount County started it.
Blount County started it.
Kentucky doubled down. Gunner and Sharon are finishing it. Shadows where the black bears roam. They kicked in Gunner's door trying to steal his home. No war and no crime, just badges and a grin. But they forgot one thing, mountain men don't bend. He looked him in the eyes and said, you just signed your fate. You touched my blood, now feel the reckoning's weight.
Hear the Smokies roar.
In Kentucky weep.
Hey, this is the reckoning. Gunner Evers calls it down. Blount County burning to the ground.
Kentucky CPS on their knees tonight. Retaliation thieves gonna lose this fight.
The reckoning is here.
Wake up, America. Draw near. For every stolen child, for every mother's tear. The reckoning is here. Sharon stood like stone when Kentucky crossed the line. Took her babies for revenge, thought they'd break her spine. But every tear she cried turned into molten steel. Forged a blade called justice that no court can conceal. From Maryville to Frankfurt, the corrupt began to run. They woke the sleeping giant and the reckoning begun. Now 1 million parents marched with torches in their hands. From the hollers to the cities, across these stolen lands. Gunner's voice on the podcast was the battle horn blast. Every episode another nail in the empire's casket. He named the day, he named the hour, he named the final stand. He called it the reckoning. Now it's sweeping the land. This is not politics.
This is not left wing.
This is not left or right. This is the line in the dirt where parents say, not one more child tonight.
Gunner Evers drew it.
Sharon Evers holds it.
America crosses it together.
When the last courthouse falls and the last black robe burns, when the last caseworker flees and the last stolen child returns, we'll raise a monument on the ashes of their throne. Carved in Tennessee granite with these words alone. Here died tyranny at the hands of a dad and mom. The reckoning came, 2020 seats the storm.
This is the reckoning. Gunner Evers spoke it loud. Blount County in ruins. Kentucky in a shroud. CPS is finished. Hear the death knell ring. Every stolen child coming home on angel wings.
The reckoning is here. America, no more fear. Gunner,
Sharon,
your name's forever. The reckoning is now, and it's eternal.
the reckoning. Hey, hey, the reckoning. The reckoning.
Mommy and Daddy are
Hey, look. This for every mama got her baby snatched on some bogus shit. For every pops they locked out the crib like he ain't blood. CPS, y'all been eating off pain for too long. We know what you on. But now it's war, this gun and foe. CPS. Kick doors, no warrants, they taking our seeds. Say it's neglect, but they planting they greed. Feds in they pocket, judge got a fee. Run it like a business, adoption spree. Contracts overseas, got partners in France. But shorty from Shy, he ain't get a chance. Mama work 2 jobs, daddy do right, but they still snatch his baby in the middle of the night. Fuck CPS, they ain't saving shit. Just a system full of snakes getting rich off kids. We see through the cap, we done taken the hit. Now it's Suffer Davis popping and we loaded the clip. Gunna got the case, now we in that fight. Taking this to SCOTUS, shining that light. They ruin good homes, now we flipping that script. Time to bring them back, time to empty the clip. They labeled us monsters, called us unfit, but it's they paperwork dirty, all of it forged and flipped. How the fuck they selling babies to a bidder overseas? Then tell the fam you unworthy. Man, please, we got mamas in pain, daddies in tears. They breaking our hearts, been doing it for years. Now we riding with Gunner, and we got the proof. Sworn under oath, now it's time for truth. Trump got the team and the pen in his hand. He said bring them home, now that's the plan. You feds been hiding, but it's over now. We moving like an army, and we ain't bowing down. Fuck CPS, they ain't saving shit. Just a system full of snakes getting rich off kids. We see through the cap, we done taken the hit. Now it's Suffer Davis popping and we loaded the clip. Gunna got the case, now we in that fight. Taking this to SCOTUS, shining that light. They ruin good homes, now we flipping that script. Time to bring them back, time to empty the clip. They ain't gods, they ain't law, they just people, corrupt people. And when the people rise, ain't no system safe. The Chi-Town, it's the movement. We gunning for CPS, and we coming heavy. Yeah. Wait.
I'm gonna pull the whole thing down. I'm gonna bring the whole fucking diseased, corrupt temple down on your head. It's gotta be biblical.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of Gunning for CPS. I'm your host, Gunner, and I'm going to ask you out there, who are we going to piss off this week or today with our knowledge and education to stop and shut down CPS and abolish them forever? Guys, we are being heard. Guys, in case you haven't, man, let me tell you something. This past week, there's been so much going down. Said, hey, they're not listening. Nothing's happening. Especially with the Epstein and all this other stuff that's going on. It's like, no. Hold on a minute now. Because they are listening. Because if they weren't, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look. That's right. What does that say? A bill has been dropped seeking to abolish the Department of Children and Family Services in the state of Louisiana for mass corruption. Mass corruption, child trafficking, all this stuff, guys. It's real. They're waking up. This is not a joke. Listen, that's in Louisiana. Now, let's turn around and have another look at some of the things as they develop. Now, a lot of you guys don't know. Some of you may know or not know. We're based out of Tennessee here, just in the Knoxville area, or just outside the Knoxville area. So here we have one of the local proponents that a lot of you guys talk about with the family. I believe it's the Family Forward project with Connie Reguli. Connie Reguli is in the state of Tennessee. She was an attorney that stood up for parents for doing something illegal and unconstitutional that the state of Tennessee was done, and they disbarred her, and they went after her, and they attacked her. And guess what? She's still standing. She's still educating. She's still advocating. She's there in, especially, she does some things nationwide, but she does a lot of things, a lot of her basis. So because everybody, and some people look at this as a bad thing. Well, she just deals primarily with Tennessee. It's her home state, guys. Give her, give her a break. Of course, she's going to know more about Tennessee than she does, say, Montana or Michigan or this other stuff or Alabama. Thank you, Tina, out there. Good to see you, John. Good to see you again too. Pennsylvania, man. Listen, man. You may not see it in your state yet. You may not, but right now, Arizona went through, shut down CPS, did the reform bullshit. And guess where they're at now? Back in the same boat they were in before they reformed it. Reforming or reformation of CPS does not work. Arizona will show you exactly why it doesn't work. This is why this needs to be abolished. Why? Because they're more of a problem than they are a solution. We could eliminate them and save billions and billions and billions of dollars. And then when true child abuse, because the argument's going to come out that, well, what about the kids? What about the kids? That's what the courts are for, and meet the criminal method, the criminal mark. In other words, a true crime has happened. And this is the biggest complaint that people and parents have across America. That's a bunch of crap of saying, listen, man, they accuse me of child abuse. They accuse me of this. They accuse me of that. And all these different things here. I'm neglectful or I'm all these other things. But they went into civil court because they're a bunch of damn pussies because they couldn't make the criminal standard. That's bullshit to destroy families over that. Look at that. Why? Because a true crime has not happened. So they go, well, this person or the other thing I'll hear, well, I saw one post, a response from one person, especially here and I'm in Blount County, Tennessee, that turned around and says, well, I don't do things that bring CPS or brings the law around my house. You guys got to understand, they have this anonymous way. So your neighbor gets mad at you because, they don't like your grass cutter thing, or the HOA manager doesn't like your this and that. They have this anonymous tip line that they can call in and give false reports to keep people at white, to harass them. There's the problem. Under the Constitution, fuck off. Leave me alone. Unless I have harmed somebody and you can prove it in a court of law or damage their property in a court of law, the supremacy clause of the Constitution, which says I'm the ultimate law of the land, forbids anybody doing anything to you in any court unless you've violated that when interacting with we the people. But now if you've taken and done something business-wise, which once again, there's that whole other debate and educational side. I'm not property of anybody. And this is where it's, that's that sovereign citizen. No, you're free. You're not free under the Sovereign Citizen Act. You're not property of the state because of the sovereign citizen stuff that everybody takes and go, well, you're free based on the Declaration of Independence, the very foundational document of this country. Says that we are free, that we are shaking off the matter of fact, it gives us our moral compass as an entire country with the Declaration of Independence. What we should do, how we should be thinking when we think about things like that. That's our frame of mind because it's the foundational document of our country, but you're not going to hear that. Why? Oh, I'm glad you asked. I've got something really great for you guys. Let's see if I can find this, and we're going to go through this and this is going to blow your mind. I'm trying to find, let me share this real quick before we get into this other video. Here, let's look at this other thing that a state lawmaker here in Tennessee, and I'm going to share this. I'll get rid of the commercial for Dairy Queen. I know it, we're not promoting in that stuff. We don't get paid for it. So have a nice day. Nashville, look at this. And this is out of Tennessee. This is Tennessee politics. This comes, you see the news station up here. This was reported from a a local news station here in the state that goes on, and it's talking about the Department of Children's Services have allegations and lawsuits against state agency. Now this is the part that gets me, and I do, those of you that are watching, that I had said something about the person being from Memphis. No, they're not from Memphis. They are from Nashville. But Afton Ben, and I believe I'm saying that right, which is a Democrat, which is really freaking weird, out of Nashville, is taking that she's getting calls and all these other stories of families directly affected by DCS. The department, unjustly drags out cases, houses children in unsafe, because we have the whole thing where they're sleeping in offices. And just recently, I believe this past week, that even in one of the offices, one of the kids had meth in one of the offices and doing meth in the office, is what the report said. Yeah, it was all over. You guys can go look that up for yourself. Yeah, I believe that was Middle Tennessee, if I'm not mistaken. And it's telling you it segregates children with disabilities. They're saying they're not compliant with and here's the other thing. Now let's get into the other stuff, which means if you have children with, it segregates here, the children with disabilities. Well, where's their ADA? Where's their designated employee? That's ask CPS the next time when they come in. Hey, who's your designated employee for the ADA, and why are they not here when you're knocking on my house? Oh, they don't want to hear that. Why? Because I need ADA accommodation. You're a government agency. You're required by federal law and state law to give me ADA from the very beginning, from the first interaction. The first interaction should be, hi, I'm from this, and that. Do you need any ADA accommodations before we proceed forward? Because you can't legally proceed forward without giving you those ADA. And there's a shout out to my buddy Henry that does a show here on YouTube on the CPS Breaking News Network, Equal and the Same on Saturday nights. If you guys have issues with the ADA, please go check out that show. It's every Saturday night. I believe he's got it on there around 8 o'clock. If you go and click and follow on the YouTube channel, CPS Breaking News, and I think we replay it on my Facebook pages. If you guys follow that, both the show page, Gunning for CPS, and my personal page. Now, I'm going to take and can you guys hear me? Tina, are you having trouble hearing? Because we've had some issues. Hopefully you guys can hear this. Tina says she was having some technical difficulties and couldn't hear me. I hope you guys can hear me out there. My mics and everything are hot. We should be good to go. But we're going to go ahead and move on unless I see something here in the comments. But going back over this, I mean, you've got a Tennessee lawmaker saying CPS is corrupt and asking for the Department of Justice to what? Investigate them. That blew my mind, okay, to see that. And now here's another thing that happened this week. Now this is on, and I'm sure this is, and we'll get to the video. This is out of the Tennessean. It's a local newspaper that goes across the state. It's well known, that's out there. This is a story to where there was just a meeting to where Margie Quinn, which is the head of DCS, Department of Children's Services, was called, to face the lawmakers, basically to Nashville, to the Capitol, and for a budget hearing. And they come to find out, oh, this is going to blow your mind, that there's $41 million missing. $41 million. Now, if you want to read more, if you subscribe to the Tennessean, you can go to the Tennessean and check out the rest of that story. There's other papers that cover it as well. If you follow Connie Reguli, you're going to get a lot of Tennessee news, probably out of just, both me and Connie Reguli. One, it's our home state. It's natural. So we're going to give, we're a little biased when it comes to some of the things. Yes, we do report on things, but we get a lot of stories here locally that cover, directly here for me would be Blount County, Tennessee, and then the state of Tennessee reporting those things. But we do cover other stories that are out there that are pertinent, if you will, that relate to basically all of this. Because once again, this is about sharing information and understanding if something happens in one state, you're going to have to understand this, okay? And get this. It may not be the same, but you could do something similar, okay? So if we put information out there, I'm going to give a little drop for your little AI. You could turn around and say, hey, analyze this case and find, or this code or whatever it may be, because it may be, this is a case that was in, say, Michigan, okay, and say, now relate that to Tennessee and show me what it is, or find me a case that's similar to this for my state. Because you're going to get more in these state courts, you're going to get more, well, going in with all the constitutional stuff and this, that's great. But you got to understand with the constitutional stuff, U.S. Constitution and federal codes, your states mimic a lot of those. So what they're wanting you to do in a state court, well, my rights. Find the state part of it and put it in your objections and everything else. Well, wait a minute. Here's case law. Well, here's case law, or, here's a Supreme Court decision that's exactly like mine. Looking, my case is the same thing, or it's the same topic, but it's in your state and how it pertains. So you can get Supreme Court case law for your state, and your local judge must follow that. Because if you quote a case out of, say, Tennessee, that the Supreme Court says, the Supreme Court has found this is how we're going to handle this. So Supreme Court's up here. The lower judges now have to follow that, especially when you cite it. Why? Because they can't interpretate that for themselves. Everyone goes, what do you mean they can't interpret it themselves? SEC versus Jarsky, baby. You better catch up on the law. SEC versus Jarsky tells you that time's over with that discretion. It means you have to follow the hierarchy. You don't get to think for yourself if you're a lower court judge. You're only to what? Apply the codes and statutes and Supreme Court case law to where the lower court judge, hey, I can shovel it off and turn around and say, well, the Supreme Court said this, so I'm going to go with this ruling. But they have to cite that in their decision and in their explanation of the case that they have to go in the cases. You'll see that a lot in federal case law, where they give their opinion or their, like a dissertation, basically, of how I came to this decision by following this code, this case law, this, I followed this. And you're going to see that a lot about federal judges do that a lot too, because they have to follow SCOTUS, okay, which is the supreme part of it. Now, a lot of you, we're going to educate you that if your stuff's so bad, you can do changes of venues and so on and so forth, or to disqualify. It's easier, more, instead of asking the court permission, if you will, that Your Honor, I make a motion for a change of venue. Okay, I want a different judge. No, you want rid of the judge, disqualify the judge, and how you can and watch. Hey, wait a minute. My attorney and the judge sitting on the bench are best fucking buddies, and nobody told me nothing. Yeah, that's a really, guess what? Done. So that's a big thing. Yes, Renep 8081. I was going to get to that a little bit later, but yes, the main producer and the head of CPS Breaking News, Darren, also known as the CPS Punisher, did lose his home to a fire earlier today. Matter of fact, he called me while the fire department was still basically putting it out, watching the flames go up. But everybody is safe. All the humans are safe. They were missing some animals at time, but I believe they possibly did find them all. I haven't got confirmation from Darren, but like I said, a lot's going on. So everybody out there that, for, however your religious beliefs are, whatever, our thoughts and prayers, of course, from the show, and everybody out there would, I guess you say, send one up, if you will, for Darren and his family. They've got a road, they've got a challenge ahead of them. But once again, we all know people, we all know that sometime or another, at some time, we've all known of somebody, or at least known of a fire where a family has lost their home. But keep that out. If you guys know Darren, the CPS Punisher, reach out to him, send him a quick private message or something like that. Say, man, I heard about what happened. Thoughts and prayers with you. Give him some good support, because right now that's morally debilitating to lose everything you own, just about, that or whatever was in the home. Completely gone. Well, and I was talking to somebody, because once again, I was I'm a retired, due to my health, master electrician. So I've been in and out of houses that have been burnt up, as well as being a former what they call, I guess you call it, paid volunteer fireman and volunteer. I've done several of those, so I've been in and out of those. And you know, there you are, guys. Sorry about that. Once again, we lost connectivity. Always when we're doing something good in the show. And of course, right now, unfortunately, I could see the comments. I don't. Let me try and turn them off and on, and give me a minute because I can't see them at all. And see if they'll come back. Nope, I don't think. Let me see if it'll go to this. Try the demo mode. Turn it off. Nope. I don't think we're gonna. Sorry, guys. I'm gonna play with it. Unfortunately, sometimes when it kicks out, it does that. So I'll try and keep the comments on here, and hopefully I can see them over here on the right hand side. And looks like Tina Burnett. Thanks, Tina. Let's see. She says, "Can I talk about stuff on Facebook or TikTok about DHR and COP?" Absolutely. You have freedom of speech to go. There's all sorts of people out there that are talking about things. Yeah, John, they have that habit when we start really getting kicked up. Oh, there's your comments now. So they are showing up on my screen now. Go figure. But let's talk about, when we were talking about everything that was going on, and we're finding out, especially here in Blount County and the surrounding counties, the amount of pedos, true pedos, criminal pedos that are coming out of the school systems. People that want to be around the children. Listen, man, I love my kids, and we had everybody else's kids over and stuff when my kids were growing up. But at the same time, they're your damn kids. When it comes down to my personal thing, this and that, nope, I don't want to. I did volunteer at one time. I was a referee for AYSO, which is soccer, when my kids played when they were much younger. But once again, I just ref the games. I didn't go to the practices or any of those, anything. I wanted that distance for myself for that. But I refed a lot of games, a lot of U games under the underage ones, and then all the way up. But that was a fun thing to learn, was how to be a referee for reffing actually soccer. And actually you get credentials that, yeah, it qualifies for college games, and it qualifies for, once you do so many college games, then you get accreditation to where you can go to the pros if you want to do the pros. I'm not interested in making that my life. Okay. I enjoyed what I did until, once again, I had to go through my own CPS nightmare, still working through some things here, but I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. But during that time that I was going through the stuff with CPS, I had congestive heart failure, and it wasn't as bad as what it was. It had deteriorated to where I think I had about 40-something% or something like that. Then I went through everything with CPS and everything that was going on then. And then the adjudication with the magistrate, which is family court. Then we appealed it. Then we went into civil court. And so that went on for, a couple of years, right there. And during that whole time, no ADA accommodations for my condition whatsoever. They didn't care. No bathroom breaks. Why? Because a lot of CHF, you deal with water on the heart. So if you're holding water, you're actually causing damage to your heart. You have to make sure that system is functioning the best it can, and you take medication for that, as well as blood pressure and the other. My personal condition is my left ventricle. The wall of my left ventricle is literally dead. It doesn't even have, when I had the pacemaker, it's not even hooked up on the left-hand side, because the actual wall of the outside wall of the left ventricle has no conductivity. In other words, it's dead muscle tissue. all this time going through that. And then, like I said, we had that adjudication, I think it was August. And by the time it was December, I was getting a pacemaker put in and had several heart attacks back to back to back, even while I was waiting in the emergency room, of all things, as you're sitting there waiting. And it was like, yeah, it was kind of a nightmare. But yeah, that's what CPS does. And it literally tries to kill you. And I'll be honest with you, as I'm going forward with some of the things that we're doing, I'm looking to press charges for attempted murder. We're actually working on some stuff. I've been helping Sharon with some things in Kentucky, as she's going through some stuff in Kentucky up till, like, recently, because she's just got to focus on that. But I have a good feeling with some of the stuff we found. Believe it or not, guys, this is why you've got to dig. Their initial finding was that that we had violated the no contact order, which once again, guys, if you violate a no contact order or somebody CPS says that stuff, what you need to do is, and this is not legal advice, it's educational, make them prove that. And how would you make them prove it? You would prove it by subpoenaing them. And even with the response, if they don't have, as you put forth your subpoena for you pro se people, is to turn around and say, show me, because you're accusing me of a criminal act. Okay. Show me the documentation that this is true. Okay. If it's not true that no criminal act has even been done, and there's no record, no criminal history, nothing even on the record, even an investigation into this, what they're saying is true. Because once that you put it on the court record, it's considered fact if it's not challenged. Okay. So you challenge it by saying, here's a subpoena, prove it. Well, if you don't prove it, each state's got its own. Kentucky's very unusual. And let me, or, and it could be similar. Once again, I said at the beginning of the show, find something like this code. Now find it in my state. Kentucky actually has a code specifically for and they call them the cabinet members of Department of Family Services there. It's not CPS. Once again, every state's got its name, but in Kentucky, it's called the cabinet. Okay. I'm going to blow your mind with this particular one. Why? And this is why. And I'm going to show, now you guys can look this up. Like I said, if you want, let me see here if I can get this. And I'm going to show you this why, because this is just some research, but I found some quick, sometimes you start and then you got to dig. Okay. This is how this process works. Let me see if it'll blah, 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 blah. Nope. There it is. Okay. Read here. And now this is for Kentucky. Now you can go into your own state, and I'm gonna bring this up. And I hope you guys can see this, but once again, if a state worker does this, let me, I don't know if I can zoom in on that. Does it allow me to? Yeah, it does. Hold on. There we go. Maybe you guys can see that better. Okay. In Kentucky, a state worker knowingly files a fraudulent evidence. Quit that. Damn it. Okay. That didn't work. Let's go back to this again. That was one of the shows. Nope. Let's go back to this one. I'm sorry, the wrong one. Sorry, guys. Bear with me. So it says, I don't know if it'll move it around now. Oh, there it is. Why is it doing this to me? Sorry, guys. It says in Kentucky, a state worker who knowingly files fraudulent evidence-free claim of a crime, in other words, a criminal code or criminal act, faces severe legal consequences, including felony charges class C or D under state fraud statutes. Did you see how that works under state fraud statutes? So there's your trigger word when you guys are doing your research, is find state fraud statutes pertaining to whatever your CPS is called and look at them. And you can start picking them out. These statutes are like the codes. They're like, once again, states can't do that, can't do laws. They can do statutes and codes. In other words, these are things they must abide by. Such actions can lead to imprisonment, fines up to 3 times the government's damage. In other words, they're going to jail, and whatever the government's got to pay out, they got to pay it back 3 times over. So even though they go to jail, now they've got to come out of jail and go to work. These caseworkers and stuff like that do this stuff in Kentucky and get a job flipping burgers as a criminal, as a convict, and they're already getting their check garnished. Why? Because they've got to pay back the state and probably their own. What shall we say? If they've got a college degree or anything like that, guess what? You got to pay for it again, Jack. There you go. You're in trouble. I mean, here, this is going to, so you can go in and say this and I'm teaching you guys how to look for trigger words. Okay. Because they apply to your state, my state, this and that. What are you looking for? You're looking for fraud. And it says here, who's responsible? This is for investigating and pursuing these. And what did we tell you guys before? Quit going to the police, quit going to the district attorney, go straight to the state. And once again, this verifies and says what we're saying is not, misleading you or misinformation, because it even says right here, for those of you that like to throw out, oh, he gives out. No, I don't, because here you go, dumbass. It says right here, Kentucky Attorney General. And what have we been telling you guys all along? Report the state crimes, not to your local cops, not to these other people, this and that. Go file a complaint with the Attorney General's office. Do it in the Capitol. Don't do it in, well, I can't get to the Capitol. I go there. Call them, because most of them even have a website or something like that to where you can upload them digitally. And that's all it takes. Now, remember what they're talking about here. Now let's go through this. Let's look for another thing for research so you understand. It says including felony charges and class C or D. Well, okay, so it's in the criminal code is what we're talking about here. Remember what we said, the statutes and our codes. Once again, it says class C or D. Okay, well, where's that at? Well, I'm glad you asked. Look what I found. Look what hold on here. Is it not showing the screen? Dagnabbit. Hold on here. Let me close this one. I don't want to hide it. Sorry, guys. It's been crazy. Let me remove that source. Technical things. They're making upgrades to this new platform we're doing too, and it's pretty cool. But yeah, it has its little hiccups. So, and how much, man, you guys are going to love this, man. Are you going to love this? Matter of fact, let's get rid of that one. Matter of fact, those codes that we're talking about, because I read that to you. Boom. What are we talking about here, Gunner? Let me check my screen here. Let me do this. Now look here. Look at this. And I'm going to, let me, so you're looking for the context. Yeah, you can ask for context. Once again, this is under, in other words, it talked about in that thing, and I'm teaching you to look for these key words. It's saying that it's a C or D felony, right? And so it's telling you it's in the criminal code. So you have to go to Kentucky Criminal Code, and so one of your search engine things is, hey, give me the Kentucky Criminal Code for this here, and even go as far as which is a C or D felony. And let me remove the chat here. So you guys can see it, and I'll bring you back here in a minute, just because we don't want to miss this. Okay, guys. Come on. And I think the phones you're going to have that issue, and I hope you guys can. No, let's just do it this way. Sorry. The other thing that this new thing does is we can do landscape like a computer, or now there's a thing we can add on to where you can see it in portrait mode, like it's on your phone. So let me go through this right here, and I'm just going to read it. So this is Kentucky Code or Statute Code 205.8463 under fraudulent acts, penalties. Okay. Now, unless they can prove, like in Sharon's case, did you violate that? And that's what they took her kids over. Okay. Check this out. Number 4. So you would write this as 205.8463, and then see the parentheses here? Then you would do parentheses number 4. What does parentheses number 4 say under the code? No person in any manner within the jurisdiction of the Cabinet of Health and Family Services under this chapter knowingly falsify, conceal, or cover up by any trick, scheme, or device a material fact, or make any false, fictitious, or fraudulent statement or representation, or make or use any false writing or document that includes the filings. The stuff that they fill out is what they're saying, sworn affidavit, it's like a sworn affidavit. Hey, we're accusing you of this. If they do that knowingly, that there is nothing there, even to the point of you didn't think it through, you're just making an accusation, it don't work. In Kentucky, you get caught. You're screwed. Why? Fraudulent statement represented or use any false writing and document, knowing the same to contain any false, fictitious, or fraudulent statements. No, well, wait a minute. You're accusing me. You violated. Okay, well, where's the criminal paperwork to show what you said? In her case, that's true. And this is why. Now let's scroll down. That's number 4. Okay. Now you're also going to do 4,7. Keep it both in parentheses when you're writing this in your documents. Any person who violates the provision of subsection 4, which is what we read of this section, shall be guilty of a Class D felony. Uh-oh. Gotcha. You lied on your paperwork. Why? This isn't true. Here's my evidence. It isn't true. Or you can even turn around and challenge them and say, provide the evidence, because you put the burden back on the state. Show me the documentation to what you put in that report that you took my kids over, which now becomes legalized kidnapping by the court over a felony act by a state worker. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Houston, we got a problem. You just committed a felony. We can't proceed in this court, Your Honor. Witness has rights. Easy, simple questions. You filed this under this. Is this not true what you filed? Yes. Now you accused under this that you violated a court order or no contact order. That's what you stated, and that's one of the premises that you took the kids. You got evidence of that? I mean, where you got a police report, arrest record, anything? And now they've had her kids for 6 months. And show me where you've got this thing to state that was true, which took the kids. It's not a single record. Now, when you file with the attorney general of that state, they got access to all of it. All they have to do is run your name to see if any of that exists. Nope. Not in this state or any state. None of it exists. You just falsified court paperwork. That's fraud upon the court to take somebody's kids. You committed a felony. You committed a felony when you filed that paperwork. Now, that engages something called fruit from a poisonous tree. Fruit from a poisonous tree doctrine states that if there's a constitutional rights violation or a felony act or a crime, criminal act, fruit from a poisonous tree, anything after that is null and void. So if they started with the initial filing as a criminal act, anything they've done after that, it's not admissible in any court under fruit of a poisonous tree doctrine. They don't want you to know that. So that thing, they falsified paperwork to take my kids. Great. Now we'll get into something just a little bit different. Why? Because most people don't know this. In a lot of states, which is what we're getting ready to do, and we're going to break and we're going to show you our filings where we're going back to the original court that screwed us over, that committed felonies. And we're going to have a separate hearing. And this hearing is called a 60.01 or 02 in Tennessee. What does that mean? That means you had your hearing where they came after you. Now you get to have a hearing to where, guess who's on the other side? The judge, the CPS attorney, the GALs, all of them, you're now putting them on trial. And you can hold them accountable for the statutes, codes, and everything else, and all these other things that they did, such as entering evidence without following the proper procedures for the rules of evidence. Therefore, that has to come out. That has to come out. That has to come out. Now, what do you have left? There's no way. And then the argument on one of those, which is fraud upon the court, no way in hell, if you had applied the laws, the codes, and the statutes properly, in my case, there's no way in hell you would have ever found anybody guilty or not. But in my case, it's our suspicion that the court was covering up for the state worker, the CPS worker, which is the other thing the court ignored, of illegal entry, Fourth Amendment violation, which I have all the case law and everything else for that dealt with that. And here's the other thing in Tennessee, you know, the reports they have this said, they call them a Tennessee facts report. Well, even the CPS workers so dumb. This is how they set up CPS workers to fail if you really know the law and you understand how this works. You're required to have a warrant under this federal case law. You put in your report, you entered the home, but you didn't notify the homeowner, nor did the homeowner give you permission. Because here's the thing, just because you're married doesn't mean you both own the house. And that's called homesteader rights, which means the same thing goes on for Fourth Amendment protection of why it's so difficult for them. And the reason they get the warrant, even in rental properties, you can't give away permission. Why? Because the person that owns the building still has Fourth Amendment rights too. Oh, remember what we played last week? That whole Fourth Amendment thing came into play and go, well, do this, but then you can do this. That's a problem. That's a problem. So, huge, huge decision. And like I said, guys, you know, this is why we're connected. This is why you don't want to miss a show, because we're going to explain a lot or give you things to think about to where, oh, wait a minute, now that makes sense. That's why they hate us so bad. That's really why they hate us so bad, because we show you the stuff. They don't want you to know or even educate yourself on those things so you can't turn around and fight. Let me put the comments back on so you know I'm paying attention to you. There we go. Okay, so they took a drug screen which was contaminated. No urine. Used that screen to take my child through here. I don't know why that thing's doing that. Yeah, okay. Now there's another thing. Okay, now you're dealing with something there, Michelle Alvarez. And we'll deal with that. Do you have your kids take it away, or are you talking about other people's as in hypothetical? No, that was once again with kids take it away earlier. That's once again, that's my wife's children that were taken. And some of that too, they even put in their paperwork. It was retaliation for filing our federal case. Literally, it says it right in their paperwork. Okay. If you have things of a dirty things, once again, there are very strict, and you have to look up in your states what's admissible and what's not. Even though the state says they are, there's some rules. They say, well, we have to do this. They can write whatever they want in some of their little handbooks and everything else. Doesn't mean it's law or it's legal. Okay. You can find something else to turn around and say, wait a minute. If you're collecting you're actually doing a drug test. You're doing it like CPS does, this and that. And here's the issue. Well, it says, well, our people can do this. Well, to do that job, a lot of states have credentials, okay, or guidelines or a license to do that. So if I do urine tests, you technically, the people that do that are in a lab. So it must be done by a licensed professional for it to be entered into court. They're allowing these at-home kits that they're using admissible in court that's not even legal. They're not. They're at-home kids for you and your kids. Why? They're not accurate. That's why they're supposed to be sent off in a full, analysis is supposed to be done. But here's the other problem. Why are you giving them your urine without a warrant? Wait, didn't we cover that in one of our other shows too? Who can write a warrant? Can a family court judge offer a warrant for your urine? Can a family court judge order a court order for your urine? Why? Because it's covered under the Fourth Amendment. And that is specifically within the canons, the judicial canons and everything else, and their rules and everything else. That's going outside their wheelhouse. They have to be an Article 3 judge to even give you a warrant. They're not given that power. Even though they do this, when you catch them, go, wait a minute, you mean my family court judge that had ordered them to do this and this? Yeah, that's right. They can't order CPS in your house either. That takes the Fourth Amendment. That requires a warrant. Can't issue a court order if you can't issue a warrant. Oh, I bet you guys watching out there going, wait a minute, are you kidding? Are you kidding? Go look up what your judge is classified as. Division 4, Division 6, Division. Are you in Article 3? Federal government, which is the thing, the absolute, because it's a constitutional issue, and they're the only ones that have the power to issue the warrants. And states can't give away that right. They don't have the power. The federal government never gave it to them. They still hold that power. Yeah, they've been getting away with a lot of stuff because we didn't know how to take and challenge them and turn around and say, hey, that warrant isn't legal. Well, what else is, we went over this. We'll go over it real quick with a warrant too. Article 3 judge, or there's one exception, an Article 1 judge, but it must have explicit powers given to them for a temporary time by the U.S. Congress and the U.S. Congress alone, not the state, not the governor, not even, they can't even give it to themselves. Congress itself has to create that, or they cannot even hear anything on the Fourth Amendment. Your house. They can't even rule on it. They don't have jurisdiction. Love that word, jurisdiction. Your Honor, you just ruled on a constitutional right issue or this, and that, and whether it applied or it didn't. Well, I'm the judge on this, and actually you don't have the jurisdiction to fucking open your mouth. How about that? Matter of fact, do you realize the crime you committed by just opening your mouth and making a rule? Please put that on paper. Why? Because you're going to jail. You were not delegated that power. Just because it's judge doesn't mean it gives you the same power as a federal judge. It doesn't give you the same, there's different powers given to the civil side versus the criminal side of the judge, the ones that deal with the criminal codes and everything. They have to go through there's a whole different set of powers and rules and everything else. It's not just one shoe fits all, people. It doesn't work like that. So, and there's judges getting popped. What about the CPS judge, juvenile court judge ordered it? Go, Erica. Yeah, this is how you get them. Go ask the judge what their powers are, and then go research the judges, the only ones that have the power. You can look it up. It's easy to find on who can allow make Fourth Amendment decisions and or entry into the home, those type of things like that. And you're going to do the same research. It's an Article 3 judge. Is your judge an Article 3 judge? If it's an Article 1, it says, well, I was given the power. Good. Show me the paperwork where Congress explicitly gave you that power, because only Article 3 or Article 1 with special permission can do that. It's, once again, it's law. Go find it. Now you've got the judge on, and once again, acting, that's a criminal act to imitate a federal judge. You didn't have the power to do entry. You didn't have the power to let them in the home. This is the problem. You even got states, it's so bad in state courts like that, but at the same time, they're telling the CPS workers, no, you can enter the home. We give away their Fourth Amendment rights. They can't. Even under their own, and here's the thing. Well, I'm going to quote, they broke the state constitution. Nope. When you quote the U.S. Constitution, make sure to quote your own state's constitution that acknowledges the supremacy clause of the United States Constitution. Now you can connect the dots. Skip that step, you're going to lose your butt. Because now you're turning around and saying, oh, wait a minute, Your Honor. The state constitution here in this, and you cite it, recognizes the supremacy clause of the U.S. Constitution, and now you have to follow it. You have to under state law, but you got to articulate it. There's the problem. If you can't articulate it, once again, which to me is stupid, because here's the other thing. The judge is supposed to know the law, magistrate, everything else. They're supposed to be knowledgeable of the things that are brought to them to address them properly and keep up with any new case law or anything else that may affect those decisions. And they don't. They're lazy and they sit there and rule and rule and rule. And here's the thing. They should be in school, what we call continued education constantly. And the hours that some of these have to do is bullshit for a judge or a magistrate. They should be spending 40% of their time in catching up with case law and how it applies to the job they were designated, which they don't. Drug tests are real. They're a sketchy line, but you got, once again, don't argue just the federal. Argue your state, and like we've tried to educate you guys. There's usually always, I mean, it's very rare that it doesn't. Something that's constitutional law or a USC code, this and that. And you can even ask, like I said, and do your own research. AI is a good place to do a little, it points you in the right direction, so to speak, but do your own independent research. If this is what this particular, say, USC code says, can you find me or parallel something in this particular state, which I live in, and what is it? And it'll bring some stuff up. Go ahead and independently research it and make sure that it fits. There you go. Now you're dealing with something. So you guys have wondered, why is this going on? We've talked about this. We've talked about, the food pyramid in past things, how now it's upside down. And I just wanted to show you a couple of these little quick snippets that I seen. And this is stuff to make you think. This one here came up, and this one actually was pretty interesting. It says, what if they actually use the Amber Alerts for the kids that escaped? Like the CPS and such. You know what I'm saying? The kids that escaped from their power. What if it was used for that? Or for people that were actually running because they were being abused by the system? Why? Because who come up with the Amber it's like a relative of Maxine Gildwell, Epstein's right-hand person. Somebody in her family is like one of the founders or responsible for that particular system. But what if that system was used and everybody said, oh, Amber Alert, matter of fact, you'll get something that'll go off on your phone or something. Oh, we got an Amber Alert. We got an Amber Alert. What if that's people actually that really need help from being trafficked? It's a question. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to say that it's not, but it's one. These are the things that turn around and say, makes you think. Okay, it's a question. That's all it is. It's I'm not saying it's this and that. It becomes a question, because why would we put it past them? Okay, especially with everything else going on and that we've exposed, especially on this show. Now let's let's see. Nope, not that one. Sorry, I forget. Here's another one. A little quick thing. Now, this is a girl, if you don't follow her, her name's Jasmine Washburn. I see some of her stuff that pops up in my Facebook feeds, the feeds, or so on and so forth, just randomly. And let me expand her. And this one's very interesting. It says, the medical abuse in foster care is actually insane. What do you mean I was taking 8 different psych meds? Wait, who does the psych? Who profits from that at high prices? Oh, that's right, big pharma. Oh, yeah, they walk hand in hand. Because, and here's the thing, psych meds, because nothing seemed to work. As an adult now, she's aged out of the system. On no medication, turns out the best medicine was a healthy environment. Oh, I was in a toxic environment. Matter of fact, and it was created by what? the foster care system. That's okay. We'll just medicate you. We'll experiment on you. What works to make you, compliant. Rough, guys. Rough, man. But it's not a joke. You know what I'm saying? I mean, guys are out here going crazy, but you guys have turned around and said, hey, man, and now that MK Ultra's out, it's not a joke anymore. They have admitted they've been using propaganda and mind control stuff on us, and they're applying it today. Now, if you don't know who this next one is, I'm going to play this video here. And listen to this. This is a guy that was in and around those things, this and that. And he's going to tell you about a PSYOP that actually worked and actually was part of implementing. Watch this.
What's some of the most successful PSYOPs you've seen conducted that are complete now? That you could maybe dive us in, that we could dive into and you could explain, from start to finish.
Yeah.
What the end product was.
Our school system was one of the biggest, and how westernized systems of elementary, middle, and high school were organized. When the U.S. was first getting started, this guy, I can't remember his name, but he was in charge of this stuff, so he is going to be the first head of the Department of Education, create this education system that's going to be nationwide. He goes and learns, flies to Europe and learns from all these people who developed something called the Prussian education system, which in the Department of Education's founding documents, which were some written by this guy, was turn schools into factories that make good workers. I'm paraphrasing that, but the word factories was there. School is just a factory to manufacture people for the workforce and people that are obedient and all of this. So the Prussian education system was meant so that workers were manufactured and people didn't question the king. That was a big thing. So if I have to get a whole country to adopt a system that's probably not in your best interest, then I've got to do some work with PR. I've got to work with this Edward Bernays guy maybe, or I've got to do something to get people to adopt that belief. So this system was made, like standing up in the morning was the first thing we do every day. I pledge allegiance to the flag every day. And then we sit down, we're told what to do, where to sit. We don't really do a lot of creative thinking. Can you memorize this and can you spit it back out? Can I teach you this one thing? Can you spit it back out? Let me teach you geometry so you can cut wood, or so that you can square off a corner when you become a kitchen remodeling guy, whatever that is. That the adoption, the way that our country adopted that, is one of the most successful PSYOPs ever.
What's some of the most successful PSYOPs you've seen?
Oh, yeah, he hit on it. Public education, right? What do they tell you to do? No bullying policy, even though it lets bullies take and get away with picking on other kids. It just no consequences, or now they punish the person for standing up or taking care of the bully. They're punished too. Zero tolerance policy, remember? Yeah, it's not the way the world works. How do you eat in a prison line? You ever look and compare a prison to a school? Cafeterias are the same. Libraries are the same. It's there. It's cold. It's all brick. Well, everybody says, well, it's commercial. It's this and that. Doesn't have to be. Doesn't have to be that way. We've got more advanced, to do this and that. You could have steel, slinging around, hide it in the walls, this and that. But once again, big, humongous institutions, all once again paid for. And once again, now people are starting to want to do their stuff for pulling their kids out of homeschool and everything else. Or you've got judges and Miss Carlson or I can't remember her name up there in Kentucky, Richmond. Anyway, that's up there that's dealing with children stuff. She's admitted on the record that I hate homeschooling. She doesn't like homeschooling. How she feels about it, she doesn't agree with it. Well, that's prejudice, and that's bias and prejudice in the courtroom. You can't do that. That you need to be removed. You've expressed it, and you're basing it off your own personal beliefs. Somebody that sits in that chair as a judge or magistrate is supposed to leave their personal beliefs at the house. No matter what religion you are or anything else, this is the law. We apply the law. Just, cut, dry, and simple. No feelings. Yeah, but there's a lot of feelings there in there, and there's not supposed to be. That's why it's supposed to be called a court of law. And the woman has been blindfolded with the scales in her hand. And that's the way it's supposed to be. Justice is blind. We don't see color. We don't see this. We don't see economy. We don't see class or anything else. But once you go into that courtroom, that judge, a lot of the judges, they bring all that crap with them and they adjudicate based off of it. And that's illegal. So we got a couple more here, and I know, and we've got time, guys. Don't run away. And we're trying to educate you the best we can, as much as we can. But let's watch this next video, and I'm going to point out, and I want you to listen attentively in this hearing. When you hear judges, especially Supreme Court justices, even state Supreme Court, when they call something unconstitutional, it's unconstitutional for all 50 states. It's not just in that state. Unconstitutional is unconstitutional. But I want you to listen to what he says right before he says unconstitutional, and then think back, because he says, because they describes the process of CPS and what happens to families, especially this one's out of Georgia Supreme Court, and it says this process that Georgia's doing to people to get their kids, which we know it's a high trafficking state. This is unconstitutional. In other words, you're illegally taking these kids unconstitutional. In other words, illegally. But watch this next video.
Procedures require hearing, right?
The procedure is required back when the children are determined to be dependent.
So they didn't even need a hearing that day.
They don't need a hearing. They don't need notice. The juvenile court has the authority to act in the best interest of the children.
Based upon what, though? Because the juvenile court, in his infinite wisdom, can decide now this is in the best interest of the children, and I don't need to hear from the children or the parents or anybody else. As long as the government says it's okay, then by God, it's okay.
Yes, that's what the juvenile court has the authority to do, and your remedy at that point is to appeal. It doesn't make the order void.
So what happens during the appeal? You just don't have your kids. You have to wait 8 months for this court to rule?
Yes, and it's the juvenile
with no
court.
Due process.
Well, you do have due process. You have the right to appeal.
Let me tell you what went on here. This is my guess. We've been in a long time down in the bar fights that are Superior Court. I'm telling you this. So you're telling me that the defects can come to you, take your children, get you in front of a juvenile court judge, and says, "Listen, sign the consent order, and we'll let your children stay with you." And you say, "Whatever it takes, because I just want to go home with my babies. That's all I want to do." Kind of like the mama said here, "Please don't take the children." And they say, "Fine. Just do it. You can defats. You stay at home with your children. Keep rocking along. Keep doing drugs. Just get off of them when you can." And then eventually, when you cross the defects, they go to the judge by themselves, and then they take your children. And that's constitutional in this country?
Yes, well, they had counsel.
I live in the wrong country.
They had counsel. At the time they stipulated to the dependency, they were represented.
If that's true, then the entire statutory regime in Georgia is unconstitutional.
Yeah, well,
I'm just telling you, because if that is honestly the state's position, then you're going to see something like the parole case. That's just unbelievable to me that that's the state's position.
Yeah, that is in fact what the juvenile code provides.
Did you hear that Supreme Court justice out of Georgia? The whole system is unconstitutional, but nobody's doing anything about it. Georgia, what the hell? Y'all need to do a little research on what's called the Battle of Athens. Same thing. And here's the thing, Georgia. You have a Supreme Court justice. You don't need any more to do what you need to do in Georgia. Here's why. Play that at your defense trial if they come after you. The judge just called the whole process unconstitutional. So those of you dealing with it in Georgia, I would play that at your hearing. That you just called it unconstitutional. Your whole problem. Matter of fact, it mimics what she just said. My whole case mimics that. The Supreme Court of Georgia's already made a ruling on it. That's unconstitutional. Case closed, right? Because we already know who the Supreme Court is. All you have to do is quote that in your filing. The process I went through, this, and it mimics that same thing. And I'm in the same state. Here's the ruling. Matter of fact, I've attached the video where the Supreme Court judge of Georgia says it right there out of his own mouth. That's part of that ruling. That makes it case law, which means everything, all the lower courts have to follow it. But my question is because they haven't tore that system down, that they just admitted was unconstitutional, ladies and gentlemen, under the Declaration of Independence, you have a right to overthrow and remove, whether it's through the courts, whether it's with Second Amendment, with your weapons, or that. It's right in there. They've admitted we're standing with the Supreme Court. This thing should not exist. Everything they're doing, what does that mean? If he just said that, you know what that means too, that I don't get where the federal government doesn't come in and look at this stuff and go, well, wait a minute, if he just called it unconstitutional, that means if their whole process is doing that, means every dime that they've been getting for federal reimbursement under Title IV in Georgia is fraud. How come somebody in Georgia hasn't lined up like with this lady here, especially that won her case and got their butt kicked to where they went to the Supreme Court of the state, went through and said it's unconstitutional? I'd be filing a whistleblower case like that and empty their pockets. If not anything, there's a class action lawsuit that's as easy. Why? Even the Supreme Court agrees that their policies and procedures are all unconstitutional. Paste it all up there, all their books and everything else is evidence. Your Honor, I don't even have to get past Rooker versus Spellman. Why? Because I'm not dealing with a case or anything. I'm dealing with their policies and procedures. And here's a Supreme Court justice of the exact state saying the same damn thing. What's it going to take, people? How much longer? Because, countries all around the world are up and, they've had it. And everybody's watching America, especially after the Epstein. Where do you think those kids came from? CPS was mentioned in the Epstein files over 33,000 times. And what have you done? We sit back and we let it do. What's going to happen when all you parents start getting off your feelings and everything else, or feeling sorry for yourself, or my kid's gone and all that other stuff and all your boo-hoos? Start grabbing a weapon. Georgia has every right to do that as of now. Why? Because the Supreme Court justice just called it out right there. Come take me, this and that, and put me in a court of law. Why? Because you can't hear my case. Georgia has to go to the U.S. court. Why? Article 3, Section 2, Clause 2. Any case where the state is a party falls under the Supreme Court jurisdiction. You change jurisdiction on it. Even if they file it in the state court, change the jurisdiction on it. Why? Article 3, Section 2, Clause 2. You can't hear the case because it deals with this. Why? Because I'm showing here it's whether it's constitutionality of what you've been doing is legal. No. It's an act of treason and sedition. And the Supreme Court judge of my state agrees with me. And so does the judges on that panel. Ask any of them. Two of them, I rate the fact that they're even coming out of their mouth. But once again, those are people that live in a different world than you and I. Those things don't do that. They don't have their kids going after. They don't have this. Why? Because that's not who they target as the upper class. Are you kidding? They don't have their kids taken. Whatever. That's what it's about. It's what it's always been about. And it's been crazy. Now, and you talk about crazy? Oh, we're gonna get into it. I'm gonna show you crazy. How about you miss a doctor's appointment What do you think would happen? I got sick. I'm not feeling good. I'm not feeling. I'm just going to reschedule the doctor's appointment. Well, let's find out.
Our journey began in May when Diego Rodriguez reached out to me to expose to the world what Child Protective Services was doing to his grandson, Cyrus. At the time of this interview, the parents of baby Cyrus were gagged by Judge Lori Fortier under threat of imprisonment. And after starting to dig in, we had no idea how dark and how deep the rabbit hole would go.
What is this about, sir?
So this all started when my son Cyrus was having prolonged vomiting episodes. We had taken him to many different specialists to get checked out. Nobody could seem to find out what the problem was. We had just brought Cyrus back the following week from the hospital, from the ER. He had been discharged and everything. He was doing great. And then that week we had follow-up appointments with our specialists, nurse practitioners and such.
That morning I woke up with a sore throat, and I was going to try to go to that weight check anyways. And my husband was like, you know what, just cancel, it's fine.
And so she called in and she asked them if we could cancel the appointment, and she was just going to reschedule for that following Monday. They didn't answer the phone, so she just left them a voicemail. And apparently 20 minutes after that, they had called CPS and reported us just for that.
And I woke up from my nap, and there was a text message from a social worker. My dad told my husband that the law enforcement had showed up at his home looking for my son, looking for us.
In the evening, my wife was feeling much better. We went and we had dinner with our friend that had already previously been scheduled.
That moment we pulled out, my sister spotted an officer, and she said, oh, look, there's a cop right there. I think he's following us. And when I looked forward, there was a second officer that turned in front of us. And immediately when that happened, I knew, okay, so this is not going to be good.
The police officer said, hey, I just have a bolo out in your truck and I need to detain you until Meridian Police come.
We got a call from Meridian Police Department detectives, okay, and for whatever reason, they're looking for your truck.
And then it was just more and more and more, and pretty soon there was probably 10 to 15 police cars around, 20 different officers or so, right? The detectives came up and they told us, hey, we have a CPS referral for you guys. It looks like you guys missed your appointment this morning.
If I do me a favor, step out of the car. No, I want you to step out of the car. Okay, it's not my right to speak. Not right now, son. Get out of the damn car. Get out of the car. I'm not gonna screw around with you, okay? Get out of the car. Right now. Get back, now. Or you're gonna go to jail. 10 for what? We're not gonna screw with you, you understand? We're not to.
What kind I commit?
Felony injury to child. Get out of the car.
You see that officer denied him his right to attorney?
For what reason? For felony injury to a child, okay?
And I knew what was gonna happen at this point, but I didn't want to accept it.
The officers come around to my side. They open the truck door, and at this moment, when this is all happening, I remembered what I prayed, and immediately I knew, I had no doubt in my mind they were going to take him, that no matter what happened, they were going to take him.
Give me the baby, okay?
I can't. Can you please help me right now? You understand? I'm desperate right now.
We know.
I really need your help right now.
Talk to her. We'll give you that opportunity, okay? But we're going to take him to the hospital. If you want to go, you can come.
Can I ride with you?
Yes, you can. The mark up there, practice out. Oh, then take it away from you and get in. She can run. Yeah, we are. Well, no, we don't want her to know anything. No.
The fear that I had at that moment was like absolutely paralyzing. I don't think there were many things I wouldn't have done to keep him. And so he says, come into the ambulance with the baby. We just want to check on him. We won't separate you. You can go to the hospital with him. You can ride in the ambulance, and you won't be separated. I promise you. You can trust me.
The officer told me that I could go with him in the ambulance into the hospital.
Yeah, and I don't know what was said before then. I was not part of the conversation.
You can't take him. You can't. Guys, I can't. You understand what happens when the state takes custody of babies? I've seen this so many times. I can't be that next person.
It has been reported over and over that 6 times as many children die in foster care than in the general public. Once a child is legally kidnapped and placed in official safety, the child is far more likely to suffer abuse, including sexual molestation and or rape.
So you have one option at this point. You need to give him to the EMT, and you can go on your merry way with your friends and your family who's out there.
That's not merry at all.
Or I remove him from you and you go to jail. You need to make that decision. You need to make it now with us.
I won't let him go.
Okay. Go ahead and jump all the way for me. Please let him go so he does not get hurt, okay? Come here, little buddy. Okay. No, she's going to jail.
I understand I could have, but I let him go.
Put your hands on your back, okay?
He had his hands over the EMT's shoulder, like reaching out for me. They closed the ambulance door. That was the last thing I saw.
No, go in the car. Cyrus. In the car. It's all right. It's okay.
Cyrus.
It's okay. It's all right.
No, let me say bye.
You're gonna make it worse. You're gonna make it worse. Say goodbye.
These are crimes against humanity for financial gain. Rights are removed from parents. Human rights, civil rights.
Wow. No court order. No anything. Child was not in imminent danger whatsoever. We missed a doctor's appointment. How much longer before people just unplug and let everybody just go to hell? What happens then? You're not getting to the appointments. You're not doing this. My kid's not sick. Once again, matter of fact, they're healthier when they don't go to the doctors. Just like the other girl in foster care. Hey, they shoved this many pills down me. Now I don't feel good. So, Erica, just Article 3 is just their classification. You have, and it goes all over for both federal, state, everything. It has to be an Article 3, and you'll look it up. Once again, if they don't have it, you need that explained. Once again, some states do stuff by division, some do it by, they have their own terminology, and it's meant to confuse you. It really is. Like family courts will be like a Division 6. Well, that's not an Article 3, and it's not Article 1 with a special permission from Congress. It doesn't exist because it has to be person by person for that, not a blanketed Article 1 Congress gives. That's not the way that works. And like I said, and there's restrictions on that. Go down that rabbit hole on Fourth Amendment. It's really easy, especially on Fourth Amendment issues, because that's really where it makes a difference on who has the power to get into your home and who doesn't. Once again, go down that rabbit hole. We did a story on that once before. So guys, I'm going to give you some, actually, I'm going to help you out tonight. You guys got your pens and papers ready? Ready? Yes. Okay, here we go. I'm going to give you some information, some case law pertaining to your children. You can quote this in your paperwork, do your own research, so on and so forth. The Department of Justice, the DOJ, what is known as the Criminal Resource Manual, or the CRM. Go look it up. Now, it's going to tell them the do's and the don'ts. It's kind of like their own little handbook of what's legal, what's not legal, what has rights, explains and clears up all the blurred lines. So, and I'm going to put this in here, and you can look it up. I'm going to put this in here. And there it is in the comments. Okay. What that says, when you look at it, okay, the Criminal Resource Manual, CRM 121, specifically says that juveniles do have constitutional rights, especially the 4th, wait for it, and the 5th. That means your child has a right to an attorney or legal counsel by law. Even the state has to acknowledge it. They got to have an attorney present before they're questioned. Because if it's a constitutional right, even in a criminal matter, there's no on and off switch for constitutional rights. So the same thing that would apply, hey, that's a constitutional right of children. Well, if the highest court of the land has to recognize it, the DOJ, so do you. Matter of fact, we got a little bit more for you. You're going to love it. Did I happen to find? I'm not really sure here. Let's take a look. Did I happen to find case law? I mean, serious freaking case law. That turns around and says, uh-oh. What is this? Supreme Court case law that says your children have those constitutional rights, and those rights can never be given or taken away. Oh, yeah, we did. Now, everybody's going to turn around and say, oh, what did you find? What did you find? What did you find? Oh, boy, you guys are just anxious. You got those pens and papers ready? Are you sure? You got that pen and paper ready? Because you're going to love this one. So when your child is given a forensic interview by the state, it doesn't have an attorney present to protect that child's rights because it's a conflict of interest for somebody to look after the rights, but yet go after you, right? Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is. Oh, well, I don't know. You guys really want it? I mean, I don't know. Should we do a raffle for this? I mean, because this one really hurts, and you can even use it to go back on them and quote in your federal cases, your child was questioned, and then proof from a poisonous tree comes in because now you've got a constitutional crime. You can't move forward. You guys don't want that case law, do you? I mean, do you really? I mean, I don't know. I think maybe we should have some kind of competition or something for this. No, I'm just kidding. I'll tell you what. I'm going to put it in the comments. Boom. Regalt, comma, 387 US 1, all the way back from 1967. It's considered a foundational civil rights case, stating just what was backed up by the CRM was because of that case. Yes, children do have those fundamental rights, including the fact that they must be represented by an attorney when questioned, and a right to remain silent. They don't have to talk to you, and they can't hold that against you. But once again, a child is impressible, which is why they should have an attorney. I don't want to talk to you. You have to stop. By law, you have to stop. Same as a cop. Because why? You're a state actor. There's your case law. Quote the case law and say the child's you can't use any of it, Your Honor. Why? Here's the case law. Tell me where the attorney was. Who was the one that was there during questioning? Because I don't see him on camera. I know an attorney wasn't there. And some of them will say, well, the GL. Well, the GL is an attorney, and they got to be there in the best interest, including their constitutional rights. Because now, did you protect the child's constitutional rights? Did you respect the fact? Did you explain to the child that what they see could be used against their mom and dad and possibly take them away from their home? I guarantee you that wasn't explained. It's supposed to be. There in the comments. Now you're screwed. Now you've committed a constitutional crime, and that's a crime against children. Time to start flipping tables, people. We're going to give you the ammo to go through. Now, there's another thing, we may deal with this a little bit, like I said, next week. There is something that you can do after you've been adjudicated, you've gone through this and that, and then you've had time. I do not recommend this for the weak at heart. This is something that is it's going to take you some time, and there are statutes of time that are on this. It's not the same as appeal of this, I believe, in most, and it's state by state. But you can file in Tennessee, and I believe Kentucky's got something similar. It's called something different, and you can parallel it, and it's a Rule 60 or 60.02. It's fraud upon the court. And this is what we're getting ready to file this week here in Blount County on our own personal case. Because to do the verdict, and this is where you got to dig deep on it, and this is why. For them to give you the classification, a code like, say, of severe child abuse or this or that, or neglect, and these particular things, which they screwed all that up because they didn't subcategorize it, which, once again, when they don't categorize it, remember I told you guys, like, here's the thing, and then in parentheses 4 and comma 7, that's the subcategory. It has to be very detailed when they write these things up. When they do general, it means you did the whole thing, A through F. So for an example, there was not one professional testimony, no doctor, no psychiatrist, nobody licensed. Once again, now and then your defense comes back on those particular things. That's the state practicing medicine or the court practicing medicine without a license. That's a felony in most states. Now, it's very serious. The court can't practice medicine. You're not a doctor, so if you ever had a judge, well, I think, judge can't think. You got to have expert testimony by law in all 50 states, because you have to have what's called, and this is a trigger word. Write this one down too. This is a trigger word: clear and convincing evidence case law in your state. It will tell you the state must have in civil, criminal, it doesn't matter, clear and convincing, because everybody goes, well, the same don't go in family court because all of a sudden, the thresholds are lower and this, and you can have hearsay. Hearsay gets you so far, but they still have to, once again, look at Kentucky. You file something that's on hearsay, well, you better be able to back it up. Otherwise, you just committed a felony act in Kentucky, especially that we ran down tonight. It's a felony act. You shouldn't have put it in there. This is part of doing your due diligence of a real fucking investigation, not the bullshit you've been doing. A real investigation to make sure it's not there. Here's the other thing. Did you talk to the kids? Yes. Was a lawyer present? No. So, well, who was there? This and this. You realize under this case law that I just give you in the Regalt 387 US 1 from 1967, that it says that you just violated that child's constitutional rights of the Fifth Amendment? You realize that under the Department of Justice, CRM 121 even acknowledges the constitutional rights of juveniles, especially for Fourth and Fifth Amendment, that are specifically addressed in that CRM 121. It specifically says Fourth and Fifth Amendment. Where's the child's attorney? Because you questioned a child without an attorney. Did you read them their rights? Did they know that they didn't have to talk to you? Well, under our state thing for CPS, we have to talk to them, but you can't violate somebody's rights, dumbass. What part of that gets you? You cannot force or use your position to coerce me or intimidate me to violate my rights or change my mind. This is why so many people turn around and roll over and roll over and roll over and roll over. And there's a lot of people out there that will turn around and tell you, well, you need to listen to me because I got my kids back because I beat the system and da 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 da. Okay, well, was it false allegations and all this other stuff? And then you get into some of the stories and you're going, no, they actually had okay, well, yeah, you got out of it, but damn, you was guilty as hell. And basically they dropped the ball. You got out of it because you played the game against them and they were sloppy. I get that. But a majority of these cases that are CPS cases are brought up on fraud. There's no foundation for any of it. Not even an inkling. Not you. Well, I kind of screwed up and let's see if I can get away with it thing. It's one of those, it doesn't even exist, or they'll turn around and throw those things on people. Like they tried to, like they were trying to do to me, that now they're getting in deep shit here over that stuff. It is the fact that because you wouldn't shut up about the CPS caseworker violating the Fourth Amendment several times, and the judge looks at it and should know, you're the judge. They just admitted to it on paper in their facts report. How did you not see it? Where do you look at? Wait a minute. It says you've been in the home. Where's your warrant? That's what a real judge is supposed to do. Show me the warrant. For we proceed. You're bringing this to the court and says you went in, you went to the house, you visited the house, you did a home study, you put all this stuff in here and this and that. Show me the warrant where you got in the house. Oh, well, they let me in. Ma'am, sir, did you invite them into your home of your own free will and not intimidated or anything else? I didn't know I had a choice, Your Honor. As soon as that comes out your mouth, now it has to go away. Why? Because I don't know. I didn't understand. You have to understand for those. That's the protection of the constitutional rights. It means just because you don't know as a citizen, as a state actor and employee, it's required for them to know. Required. It's what it's there to protect us from. You're supposed to know this, Your Honor. Both the state and federal constitution, you're supposed to protect me. But what happens when you go into these family courtrooms and everything else? Who do they protect? CPS. That's why those corrupt sons of bitches, and I'm going to say this in the proper order, should be removed, brought before a military tribunal, and once found guilty, executed. How dare you destroy people's families and lives like that? That's why that is a sacred position, not just a money grabbing bullshit, which is why the way the state set them up are garbage, because federal is different. Why? They get their paycheck regardless of how they adjudicate. Don't happen like that in the States, does it? When you follow the money trail. Wonder since cops, especially in Tennessee, you know, there was a story that broke that they were being, the Tennessee state troopers were being pushed for quotas for DUIs. I wonder if judges are getting the same thing. Do they get a bonus for hitting quotas? Are there quotas for judges and magistrates? Maybe somebody will go down that. But going back to the Rule 60, the 6002, the fraud upon the court, it's a different way of doing it, because this is what you do is that now you've gathered enough evidence and everything else you have. They didn't follow this policy procedure. They broke this, they broke this, they broke this. And basically what you're saying is, had you had followed the law, the Constitution, or anything else, and it's going back to court, but here's the problem. You're not on trial. Everybody that was against you is. The judge. Yeah. The CPS attorney, the GA, the guardian ad litems, all of them that were against you, you're now on the other side to where they're the defendants. And now they have to answer on what was already done and on the record be reviewed. Now, there's something else you can do too. You can also file for a judicial review, and you make sure that it's done. Hey, I want a judicial review. It's, you know, completely different, but you say, I want it done by the Chief Justice. In other words, usually, give you an example of Chief Justice. The Chief Justice, usually your state has a Supreme Court panel. Okay. So many judges, it mocks SCOTUS, if you will, or shadows it. One judge is elected a year to be Chief Justice for just so long. And they get a rotation. You know, it's always somebody different. That way there's, you know, not the same person in the same seat. That's the Chief Justice. You can ask the Chief Justice, which is supposed to be the most knowledgeable people in your state, about the constitutional law and state laws, and review your case or review the case by the lower court to see whether or not, now understand, you can point out things, process, so on and so forth. But like what we've told you before, the rule of the game is not what's said in court, it's what's filed. File. Affidavits of truth, any little bit of evidence, this, and all these other things. The court clerk has to do it, even if you've got 50, 60, 100 items here. Trust me, when I come in with my motion for, it's not really a motion, they have to hear it. They have to schedule the case. Because once again, in your Rule 60, 6002, you have to do similar to a cover letter of saying, these are the reasons I want to have this 6002 hearing, is because this is what I found out. And you lay all the evidence on the table. Now, you can't enter new evidence, but you can point out all the errors and everything else, and not just the Court of Appeals to go through and do that. And if you'll notice, one of those particulars, I think that I was reading a story or something, that they signed something early. Hey, just sign it. Hey, the court appointed attorney, just sign it. Say it's okay. Get it done. They'll let you go home, this and that. And then they had another kid. There was a couple of the video of this and that. And then all of a sudden they come snatch their other kid. Why? Because now you've signed, and this is where they trick you into contract. And there's people saying, I didn't know when I signed that way back when, because I was a foster care kid, that would affect me the rest of my life. That's how they keep the pipeline going. Contract law. If you were in foster care and you were under 18, that does not apply anymore. It's not supposed to. Somebody has to do some cleanup. Why? Those are juvenile records. They're not even supposed to be out there. So you need to turn around, and you can actually file a, because you have that contract, you signed it, you can actually send that back to the place that you signed it from in a, not so much a motion that there is a demand for removal of your name, that you're recalling your name or your signature. And basically you're breaking the contract, because the contract's with you is saying, basically I rescind my signature on everything, and you can send that in a proper format, proper to your state. So do that research and rescind all your thing. In other words, as though I never signed the contract. And then you can say, hey, I'm rescinding the contract. But at the same time, it's always good to give a thing, because I was unaware that because of signing it, this was happening, and I did not agree to that, or I didn't understand it, because part of contract law, which is civil law, which is what it's for. The contract law is what they're trapping you into, because you've signed something. Did you hear the hearing of it, the one in Georgia and this and that? When we get them to sign and this that, we're under contract, Your Honor. That's why we can get away from it. How many people understood what they were signing in Georgia was signing away their rights? This is why everything that you'll usually hear here on the CPS Breaking News Network from the real people was, don't ever sign anything with CPS, because now you're under contract law. And they can hold that against you, because you can sign away your rights. This is why the power of signature is so important. So important. And this is why they took and quit teaching your kids how to write cursive, because now it takes away, because if you can't sign your name, and that's in cursive, which is signature, not just letters, I just say, no, you have to have a signature. You can't contract, which means now you're a form of indigency. You don't have the mental capability to sign your name. Therefore, you need an advocate or somebody else, which is also the person they're going to sign to you is 90% of the time crooked as hell. From my perspective, crooked as hell. Oh, just sign it, just like that one thing. Hey, just go ahead and sign this. Just go ahead and do this, or these attorneys are going, just sign it and you'll get on about your life and this and that. Yeah, it goes on for a while, but now they've got you for the rest of your life. Why? There was no, in that contract, did you say it ends on any particular date or anything else? No, it lasts for the rest of your damn life. Uh-oh. Exactly. Right there, Justin. It's considered consent. When you do that, you're saying, yes, I agree to this, including giving away your rights. Don't sign anything. Or you sign it, once again, UD, or under duress is what that means. When you sign UD, or all rights reserved. Some of those things there. Why? Especially, and here's the fun one. And this is where you go get your name. And I've seen this done too. It's funny. Go get your name trademarked. So anybody that uses your name and then sends it before you, put it on there that they have to pay you $2 million. So when a court puts your name that is trademarked on a court document, yeah, we got a problem. Why? It's a trademark name. When you used it, you owe me $2 million. Do you have it in writing that it was given permission that you could use it? Nope. We got a big problem, because now I'm taking you to a whole different court. Trademark court. Trademark court, it's black and white, black and white, black and white, black and white. Trademark. It's trademarked. Did you use it? Yes. Did you have permission? Well, no, Your Honor, we're the government. Doesn't matter. You got a Dun & Bradstreet number, don't you? You're a business. You have an entity number, don't you? Yep. You're a business. That's why you'll see stuff like, big cities and this and that. It'll say, but not really founded. They'll say incorporated. Watch. I've never seen that before. It says it was incorporated this day. That means it was turned into a business entity. Yeah. You're doing business with a business, not a government. That's how you get them. I got a Dun & Bradstreet number. I mean, that's your proof right there. You're a business. There's your DUNS number, is what we used to call it in the business, because I'm a former business owner. I know how this works. That's your business credit line. That's what Dun & Bradstreet does. Kind of like Equifax or anything else, but it's for businesses. There ain't three of them. There's only one. It's where you go through. It's the big boy. And you got to pay to be a part of it on top of it. That's the other thing that'll kill you. The other thing is jurisdiction. Yes, Justin, consent is everything when it comes to you. The other thing is jurisdiction. Do they have the power to do what they're doing? Or have they been given the permission to? In other words, the power to and the permission. It's two things. Right there, there's two things, twofold. When you go into dealing with anything with CPS, the courts, or anything else. Permission, which is consent, to jurisdiction. Do you have jurisdiction? And a lot of times these judges and everything else, especially in family law, especially with stuff where they cross state lines, You got to deal with the UCCJEA. You've got to deal with so much paperwork. There's policies and protocols. Let me give you an example. I know of a case where a CPS agent in one state is trying to take over a case from another state. In other words, saying something happened in another state, and now we're taking jurisdiction over. The problem is they never checked with the original state or the original judge, or got permission from the attorney general of the other state, because they have to go to their attorney general to go to another state's attorney general saying, hey, can we have jurisdiction on this particular case, even though you have original jurisdiction? You have to get consent under the UCCJEA. Now, for you guys out there dealing with multi-state cases, if there's no UCCJEA paperwork, they don't have jurisdiction and they're operating illegally. You can literally overturn a case over jurisdiction under UCCJEA, and believe it or not, a court is to establish the jurisdiction or answer all those questions from the very, very, very beginning before they proceed with anything. Anything. Okay? UCCJEA. There's another thing with juvenile cases for you guys to watch out for too, especially with CPS. I cannot confirm, once again, I haven't done the research, but I'm going to go out and say that a great percentage, if not all states, a juvenile court case, a family court, which is juvenile court case, is sealed and requires a judge's signature to unseal it. So in this particular case, we had a jurisdictional issue, but here's the thing. The CPS of this other state called the court clerk's office of another state where the case originated and said, hey, send me the paperwork for that case or the details of that case. And the court clerk sent it. That court clerk just committed a felony. A felony. There was no judge's signature to even say they could take it over. One, that's technically them notifying, because they're supposed to send it, if they would have done it right, is saying, hey, we're requesting this document, this court case, and jurisdiction. The UCCJEA demands that it is mandatory that it's done. So when you get discovery, and you can ask for discovery, especially if you're pro se, or ask your attorney if you have this and that, hey, go ahead and pull the paperwork on where they got that other case from and this and that, and get the actual paperwork, like the form and the whole 9 yards where they requested it and everything. And they're going to look at you funny and go, why do you want to do that? I won't look at something, just get it for me. Okay, your attorney works for you, he'll get it for you. You get it, it turns around, and you look in there, and it's just a request. It's to the court of clerks, all this other stuff, this and there. There's nothing on there. There's nothing on there where the judge signs it and it has signed to unseal it, which is required to go with it when they send it. That's part of the paperwork under the UCCJEA. That other state is now in possession of stolen court documents that are sealed in another state. Even that state that received them, and the CPS agents and everything else that see them, just committed a felony. But here's the thing. They committed a felony in another state, even by possessing them, which means now the judges and everybody and the CPS workers and this and that we'll say Virginia, and they sent it to we'll say Tennessee. Well, now there's a big problem. Why? Because now technically, once charges are pressed, people that the state of Tennessee will should put out a warrant for the fact they now have possession of those. But also the fact that they request them and didn't follow the UCCJEA. Now, whose jurisdiction does the UCCJEA follow? Federal. 1983, constitutional question. Your Honor, I have an emergency. I need an emergency hearing and decision on UCCJEA. Okay, what do you got? Your Honor, the judge didn't sign off on it. There's no paperwork. There's no a letter saying that one state's giving up jurisdiction to the other state. None of this stuff exists, but they're still in possession because they did some backdoor training. I need a ruling on jurisdiction, and then I need to take this ruling that you have this and that and send that over to because now it's federal jurisdiction crossing state lines. I need to send that over to the Department of Justice, over at the U.S. Attorney General's office, Because I'd like to press criminal charges after your findings. Because then guess who's making the complaint? It's not you. You can follow up with it, but the court is. But you didn't know you could do that. Do you know that you can type up basically a demand that all the evidence and this and that be turned over to this and that, and your state police, the governor, that all these other things, this and that, criminal charges. If you've sent letters for discovery and you haven't received anything, that is what is called contempt of court, and you would file for contempt, and you could possibly file for what are called sanctions. You guys can look that up, of saying, here's my discovery, my motion for discoveries. And here's the other thing that I'm going to tell you. If you're in a case for this or that, don't go for this discovery crap. Don't go for this discovery crap. Don't give them an option to send it. Send them a fucking subpoena. Demand it. So I would change those letters of discoveries to subpoenas. And the court then forces them to turn that over. If they don't turn it over, it's a lot easier to make a complaint, we'll say, with that same court, to say, Your Honor, I sent a subpoena over for this particular, for these particular things. Especially when you know what's in there that you're looking for, especially in that discovery. And I know you got it because you're required to turn over all evidence. Your Honor, I need to file for sanctions. I need to file for contempt of court. They're not giving it to me. You got it. This is the paper game. File. Put it in paper. Why? Because if you go from there to the appellate court, even of your state, that's what they look at. None of the arguments, anything else. They look at the evidence and they look at the outcome. Most of the time, they'll look at a little bit of testimony, but 90% of what they're going to do is review whether or not you've got it documented. If you ain't got it on the court record, you're tough out of luck. Well, I said it in court, Gunner. Document, document, document. Even an affidavit of truth. And if an affidavit of truth doesn't go on unchallenged, even when it goes up the ladder, it's considered fact in a case. And it's the same thing when they put stuff on there about you. It's a paper game. It's turning around and saying, well, my evidence says this, and here's a response to what you just filed, okay, of your complaint or this or that. Here's the paper trail to say you're full of shit. Or you turn around and answer it with something else of, well, wait a minute, if that's true, I don't have that, you don't have that. But the burden comes on you. So I'm going to send you a subpoena to make sure that you send me the evidence to back that up, and clear and convincing evidence that you have to back up that statement. Here's the case law of clear and convincing evidence from my state. And it's easy to find in every state. You got to give it to me. Do you have it? If you don't have it, now you've committed fraud upon the court because you've put something on there like we read for, and states can have different things for that. That's fraud upon the court. You filed something as fact that is not fact. This is why you have to watch what you file, and they can use some of it against you. People say, oh, you got to watch that. Just be accurate. Just be accurate. And you could turn around and say, to the best of my knowledge. Great terminology, especially when you're doing stuff. Keep an eye on everything, man. And like I said, 1983 is more than I'm going to sue somebody. Even if you have just a simple, stupid question that has federal jurisdiction. And before you can move forward in your state case, you go in there and saying, hey, we're not talking about, I'm not asking about, and people say, well, Rooker versus Feldman. Rooker, no, it's not, because you establish in the very beginning of your 1983 filing is, I have a question. And I need the federal court to answer this question because it's the only court that has jurisdiction to answer the question. Because I'm not going to leave it up to the lower courts because they can't even make a ruling on this. So because they can't make a ruling on it, they have to ignore it. That's why a lot of states will say, we don't deal with constitutional issues in this courtroom. I understand why you say that, but you're still supposed to apply what's there based off of your oath, at least the basics, to come through this. Unless I give you something else like case law or this or that. But here's the thing. And I turned around and I saw this post the other day. oh God, where was it? Lord have mercy, it's killing me. And we're going to wrap things up here soon. Uh, I saw a case or a post just the other day, and I loved it. I really did. And I think it was. Let me see if I can find. I don't know if I might have posted it and shared it. I'll share it with you guys. Maybe. Da, 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 da. Ah, here we go. Actually, I'm gonna put this up here for you guys, and we're gonna close this stuff out here tonight. Thanks for being with us once again. Come see us next week. We're probably going to cover some of the stuff with Rule 6002 here in Tennessee. It's basically fraud upon the court. It's another hearing of holding people accountable. It's different for every state. Some are different, some are not. You've got to find it once again what applies to your state, because once again, this is a state thing. But once again, your state probably parallels everything else. If you're confused, AI is a good resource to kind of nudge you in the right directions to do a little bit more research, which is great. But join us, next week, same time, same place, everything else, YouTube. We are getting some Facebook stuff finally to come through on our comments here, which is great. But 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, East Coast time, every Sunday night. And like I said, we're going to go over some more education. If you follow me on Facebook, this is something that's personal. It's not so much the thing there, but if you follow me on Facebook under Gunnar Everts, you can also don't forget to go out there and share and like the news page Gunning for CPS to get information. Sometimes I post and cross post and stuff in there. But this week is what I'm going to be sharing with you guys, our own personal. We're going to get a little personal and showing you guys. We will actually be publishing once we get it. We're looking to file tomorrow. We are going to be filing our Rule 60 to show you guys how that's really done and what that looks like. And boy, when you realize and everybody goes, oh crap, Gunnar, I didn't realize you had all that happen to you. That's pretty bad. Yeah, it's that much, but it shows mass corruption in Blount County, Tennessee. It shows how the judge in the particular case, and even the previous magistrate, because the same thing happened with both of them, violated so many canons. They even violated the state constitution with what they did. But none of the stuff was there that had anything, had the judge even been anything other than they were there to hang me because I wouldn't shut up about constitutional rights and how it was fruit from a poisonous tree, and how they covered up for the CPS caseworker that illegally entered, and they wouldn't address it. They wouldn't deal with it. They wouldn't even have a hearing. He even committed perjury on the stand. And if you guys don't know, if you guys follow like Jessica Saxon, regardless of your feelings of this and that, one thing Jessica Saxon and I have in common is we both had the same magistrate and judge. So what is going on in my case will directly affect her personal case here in Blount County, Tennessee, because it's going to blow the lid off of stuff. And oh yeah, if you think we ain't sharing information, we're all coming together here in Blount County, and we are sharing tons of information with each other because we're weeding out corruption. Why? Because we, the people, have to come together and fight. Put your personal differences aside. I know there's been a lot of stuff with people coming out, and they're going to pick the easiest one to go after when it comes to stuff with trying to stand up to CPS, this and that. I know you guys saw, if you watched The Davocate, this and that, there was a report on YouTube with Meg, or just Meg, Stand With Meg, whatever you want to do it, revealing a bunch of very disturbing stuff. One, we're not even close to that. We've never asked for a dime. We don't care. No, that's not the case. We are extremely transparent, especially with our case. And you're going to hear a lot more of it, and you guys are going to learn a lot as we go along. That's the point of this show, and point of what we do is to educate along the way of saying, here's ours, and see how we structured it. And then everybody goes, oh man, now I get it. That's the point of this, is to help you guys fight your fight. Because listen, it's not going to take just one of us doing this to tear and abolish this thing down. I am so proud of the people that are there in Louisiana, that they even got to their lawmakers enough to abolish CPS. I have never been prouder than to hear those things. I know more and more corruption is being revealed in every state, especially here in the state of Tennessee, where $41 million is missing now, that now the Department of Children and Family Services are going to have to answer for those funds. that were not categorized or spent or went into this or this or that or trafficking. We don't know. But now there's going to be a huge investigation. We have once again, the other call for the DOJ to do an investigation, the FBI, into the Tennessee Department of Children and Family Services because of mass corruption. And it's not just CPS, man. It's the court systems. That's the CPS people, man, they're low hanging fruit. You take out a CPS worker, there's 5 standing behind them. Start taking out judges, magistrates, this and that. That's where you go get them, as you turn around and you start getting them. And then you start implementing, and this is how you cross this stuff. Then you go back into your state policies, procedures, and all these other things. And then you find to where they're just following those orders. Then you go after those, because that's a different filing, because you're not going after them. You're going after the states, the state itself, which is a whole different story of saying what you're doing is unconstitutional and they're just following your orders, but they're also disregarding the Constitution. Now you've got a whole different case than I just want to go after the people that did me wrong in my case. There's a much bigger picture of this stuff, which is also why we will be refiling. And once again, I'm going to blow your mind. We're going to be refiling our federal case just because we have found out so much and so much different, and we have nothing to overcome when it comes down to it. But just so you guys know and follow, and once we get that filed and all that stuff together, because like I said, we're working hard. But right now we're split with our powers here between, Sharon and I. She's dealing with Kentucky. I'm dealing with Tennessee. She still has to come back with the same, but I'm leading the charge in Tennessee on the original case. She's up there fighting for her kids on those cases under retaliation. But we're going to have a new federal case filing. And guys, just to give you an idea of what we're talking and how serious we're going to be, and I'm going to go ahead and let it out of the bag. And I'm hoping to get Jessica back on. I was going to do that here, but I'm going to let it out of the bag for you guys. And this will blow your mind. We will be filing a federal lawsuit against the state of Tennessee, Department of Children and Family Services, and every person involved in their official capacity. And we will be asking for $462 billion. And it's not about the money. Everybody says, holy crap, that's a lot of money. No, it's not about the money. It's about taking the money from them and putting them out of business, because now you got to pay out that kind of thing, and there's no structured thing that will bankrupt them. They can't do business. They can't be insured when they have a case like that, and what we're going to blow the whistle on, because it will be a whistleblower case. We will be filing under the Whistleblower Act. And it's going to be a very complex filing. But once again, you guys will understand a little bit more if you continue to follow us, what we've been going through, the hell we've been going through for over 3 years now, to try and fight this, on top of the fact that congestive heart failure, to where I don't know, I've got less than 10% of my heart left. So I'm giving everything I have into this. And why? Because I have nothing to lose. It's just a matter of time before I'm done. I've accepted that, but I'll fight them to my last damn breath till I can burn them down. And if I have to give my life for that, well, then I'll do that too. Because here's the thing. It's a matter of sacrifice. This is how we secure our freedoms, is we've set back so long on our laurels, not morals, but laurels. We've sat back and sat on our hands. We've done nothing, and we've enjoyed a bunch of stuff. We've enjoyed the internet. We've enjoyed the entertainment through sports and all these other things. And now it's coming down to where now we're having to fight for our rights. And then when we go to those that are part of the American Bar Association and pay these people ungodly amounts of money, they fail us. They don't go all the way. Why? Because when you get into this thing deep, pro se, you realize, holy crap, they don't even do half the stuff. Why? Because they have been trained with the American Bar Association by other attorneys doing the same thing that they've been doing, and just work with the system. Why? Here's the thing. Of course, they're not going to fight tooth and nail for you or to the death. It's not their case. They're an employee. You got to understand, they've got to go back in that courtroom for somebody else's case in front of that same judge or this same other person for that case. If not, once these people do stand, you know what they end up doing when they do stand, or they do really good? They become the Johnny Cochrans. or, you know, these other big high priced lawyers and everything else. Why? Because they win, because they put their heart and soul into it. But damn, do they get paid to do it. Shouldn't be like that, man. We're all supposed to be equal under the law. Judges are supposed to know the law and defend us, especially in cases where it's us against state. This is why they shouldn't even be in state courts. Should be in federal courts. But I'm going to tell you what, man. Yeah, it's going to get serious, and you're going to see stuff. Wow, we've learned some things. They've come after us. They've already done this. That we've got them for retaliation in black and white. They literally put it in there. We even got them to put stuff in there that says, even if you do this and that, or you pass this, or you get a judgment here, here, and here, we're going to disregard it. They literally put that in print. How the hell do you exist? You ought to be executed. Why? Because you just said you're going to ignore the Constitution and you're going to ignore rulings. That's not the way this country works. You can't work in government if that's your position. So I'll tell you what, guys, it's real simple. I don't see how this has lasted as long as it has, but I'm going to tell you straight away, my opinion, when they say, hey, well, it's going to do this, it's going to do that, and you're going to have all these other things, and oh my gosh, this is so great, and you know, let's do this or let's do that. I'm like, no. Why? Because there's only one way. There's only one. And well, here's I'll see you next week, guys. Invite somebody. Get the pump up, man. We got a lot of education here. Come over and follow, share. But I'll tell you what we're going to do and what we should be doing. It's exactly what this song says. Burn the bitch down. This is what we have to say to Pam Bondi for the Epstein list and everything else. And hey, it would destroy our government. We do that. No, we won't. We're Americans. We're resilient. Burn this shit down. Get all of them. Empty the swamp. Burn it down. No more compromise. Constitutional's not negotiation. This and that. It is wrong. It is time to put a dead stop to it. And no more. Guys, thanks again. We'll see you next week. And hey, keep an eye out, because that's coming. We're going to share that with you guys. You'll love that education. But you'll also understand a lot more about my self-insurance case. How bad it is. Burn it down, baby. Burn it down. And piss somebody off this week.
They're taking kids, ruining their future, making dads run scared through the fire. The court's destroying families, they're such a liar. When the days turn into the nights, they give up, they have no fight. When you break the man, you take his soul. When you take his child, consider yourself told. Let's burn the bitch down. burn the bitch down. Let's burn the bitch down. Let's burn the bitch
I'm gonna pull the whole thing down. I'm gonna bring the whole fucking diseased, corrupt temple down on your head. It's gotta be biblical.
They said don't fight the system. They said stay quiet. They were wrong. Lock in. We are exposing what so many have failed to. We are going to show you what bar attorneys have hidden from all of us. Hundreds of thousands of children and twice that of parents have been lied to and walked down the road of termination. It's the death penalty. We're all of the protesters, the ones who fight for the rights of prisoners, dogs, illegal immigrants. Why aren't you coming to the aid of our children and families? Right here in America, every day a child per minute is kidnapped. And no one cares. We fight alone until today. CPS punishers mount up. Here comes the CPS Punisher. Anonymous tip, another lie from one of them. No warrant, no proof, just a badge and a grin. Stealing kids like trophies, thinking they'll win. Mama crying on the porch, daddy in the cage. System wrote the script, but the CPS Punisher just flipped the page. The educator they banned, I see every violation, every forged line, every ex-part hearing, every stolen time. One tap of the app and the truth ignites. Welcome to the CPS Punisher, now we can fight. CPS and the courts have lied to us all.
The courts will not disgrace the family. CPS Punisher,
Here to avoid the chains and expose the game.
CPS Punisher,
The educator they never wanted you to find.
Punisher,
One tap and their empire cracks. We rise, we take our kids back. The app is called the CPS Punisher. I'm the cape in the shadows, the skull in the night, the binder full of secrets, the weapons you all need. Ab initio, watch me void that lie. Fourth Amendment armor, watch the tyrants cry. Falsified drug test gone in a flash. I see Tevio, warrior, due process king. Every parent hero when the hotline rings. I call it justice. Download the truth, now the system busts us. From the courtroom to the streets, hear the battle cry. The CPS punishers arrive. Kiss your bar asses goodbye. They tried to silence us, now we're the loudest voice in the room.
He calls it the reckoning. Blount County started it.
Blount County started it.
Kentucky doubled down. Gunner and Sharon are finishing it. Shadows where the black bears roam. They kicked in Gunner's door trying to steal his home. No war and no crime, just badges and a grin. But They forgot one thing, mountain men don't bend. He looked them in the eyes and said, you just signed your fate. You touched my blood, now feel the reckoning's weight.
In the Smokies roar, hey!
In Kentucky weep,
Hey! This is the reckoning. Gunner Evers calls it down. Blount County burning to the ground.
Kentucky CPS on their knees tonight. Retaliation thieves gonna lose this fight.
The reckoning is here.
Wake up, America, draw near. For every stolen child, for every mother's tear, the reckoning is here. Sharon stood like stone when Kentucky crossed the line. Took her babies for revenge, thought they'd break her spine. But every tear she cried turned into molten steel.
Molten steel.
Forged a blade called justice that no court can conceal. From Maryville to Frankfurt, the corrupt began to run. They woke the sleeping giant, and the reckoning begun. Now 1 million parents marched with torches in their hands, from the hollers to the cities, across these stolen lands. Gunner's voice on the podcast was the battle horn blast. Every episode another nail in the empire's casket. He named the day, he named the hour, he named the final stand. He called it the reckoning. Now it's sweeping the land. This is not politics.
This is not left wing.
This is not left or right.
It's not left or right.
This is the line in the dirt where parents say, not one more child tonight.
Gunner Evers drew it.
Sharon Evers holds it.
America crosses it together.
When the last courthouse falls and the last black robe burns, when the last caseworker flees and the last stolen child returns, we'll raise a monument on the ashes of their throne, carved in Tennessee granite with these words alone. Here died tyranny at the hands of a dad and mom. The reckoning came, 2020 seats the storm.
This is the reckoning. Gunner Evers pull it loud. Blount County in ruins. Kentucky in a shroud. CPS is finished. Hear the death knell ring. Every stolen child coming home on angel wings.